Welcome everyone to Menopause Made Easy podcast. I'm Dilyana Mileva, your host. I'm sleep expert and menopause coach, and I give you tips and suggestions to navigate this changing and challenging period of woman's life with more ease and grace. If today we have Jacqueline as our special guest. She's a yoga instructor, and I allow her to introduce herself a little bit more and how she come to this idea to help women with in menopause too. We are very similar in our activity, in our what you teach, and how you help people. But of course, you have a little bit different approach. And I would like to know everyone who listened today how Jacqueline can help you to navigate through menopause with in natural way. Welcome, Jacqueline, to today's show, and let us know a little bit about yourself, a little bit what you're doing, and how you come to this idea to do what you do.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited to be here. Menopause is my favorite topic to talk about. So I'm very excited to talk with you today. I am a menopause educator and coach, a hormonal health specialist, and as you said, a yoga for women's health instructor. And I came to this field of women's health about 8, 9 years ago when I'm blessed with having 5 children. And after having my 5th child, for a bunch of reasons, I decided I want to do something totally different. I wanted to take some time for myself to just do something else. My original profession and career was in environmental education. And I decided, for a whole bunch of reasons, to train as a yoga for pregnancy and birth teacher. I thought, I've been pregnant a number of times. I've given birth 5 times. I thought I would know what, just be interesting to do. I know what they were talking about. So I decided to train as a pregnancy and birth yoga instructor. And as a result of that training, I discovered that I knew nothing about my body. I knew nothing about giving birth. I knew nothing about how to navigate pregnancy. It was a time where I all of a sudden discovered that despite doing this thing called pregnancy a number of times and living in my body for 40 plus years, I actually didn't know anything about my body and this process of pregnancy and birth. So immediately I began teaching, and that really led me to where I am today. It has been a long, windy, unexpected journey. I then trained as a yoga for women's health teacher, which really puts the woman and her health journey at the center of the yoga practice. I done specializations in hormonal health, really understanding the hormonal cycle, how our hormones change. I've done advanced menopause studies, functional nutrition, I've participated in a lot of functional medicine health summits, and really that is sort of my approach, is a functional medicine approach where we ask questions about, why is the blood work showing this? Why are you experiencing these symptoms? What are the reasons? What are the sources for your ill health or your health challenges? And today I really support women on their menopause journey, from perimenopause to menopause to postmenopause, and really helping them understand what is going on in their body, helping them understand their symptoms, helping them bust the myths of menopause, the assumptions, the narrative that many women have, giving them language to help them understand what they're going through, and then really working together with them from a very personalized approach as to how we can help them navigate this stage of life with much more ease, joy, confidence, and really manage, reduce, sometimes even prevent those menopause symptoms that occur, and set them up for a post-menopause life, a fabulous post-menopause life with all these strategies in place to really help them navigate the sort of, once they come through menopause, what happens then. So that sort of whole journey from a hormonal health perspective. I'm really looking at the triggers for hormonal imbalance and to create long-term sustainable hormonal health for women.
And how did you start your journey into the world of menopause?
So as a result of doing my yoga training, which really is fundamental to the way that I work with women, but has become now one of the ways that I support women through yoga, but through the yoga for pregnancy, the yoga for women's health, and therapeutic yoga training, which I also did, I became very interested in women's life cycles, sort of how they navigated different stages of their lives. And then I actually followed Dr. Christiane Northrup for a while. And I was just hearing things and thinking about things. And then also my age and stage of life. I'm now 48, so well in perimenopause. And just reading a lot of things about different stages of women's lives. I guess because of where I was at, I became really interested in the menopause stage of life. And also in the UK, in England, there has been in the last 3 to 5 years a very big growth in the menopause conversation. So there were a lot of things happening, a lot of things that I was reading, hearing, that made me really, really interested in supporting women on their menopause journey, and then really discovering that there are these menopause assumptions, menopause myths, lack of good, clear information, lack of support, lack of knowledge, that women just have no idea what is going on in their bodies. And all of a sudden I had this knowledge and information and understanding, and I just felt I've got to let women know what they're going through. I have to let women know what's happening in their bodies. And one of the things that happened to me was that at about the age of 44, 45, I discovered that the food I was eating wasn't really agreeing with me. I spent a year where I was having bloated, stomach cramps, really uncomfortable digestive issues. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't figure it out. I was about to go to, a dietitian, a nutritionist. And then I spoke to a friend of mine who is actually a nutrition expert. And she said, look, you're at that stage of life where things are changing, and maybe you need to look at what you're eating and how you're eating and when you're eating. And she helped me and coached me through totally changing my diet, which within a couple of weeks totally changed the way that I was feeling in my digestive system. I stopped with the bloating. I stopped with all the digestive cramps. I basically started implementing the strategies that I now pass on to my clients to really understand, again, as I said, what is going on in your body, why. Let's ask the right questions, and then let's find the strategies that can really help you. Let's not just treat the symptoms. Let's really uncover why you are experiencing this. And when we look at it in the concept of women on their menopause journey, women 40 plus, we can ask different questions and we understand things from a very different framework.
Right. And then, yeah, it's very individual experience, actually. And different symptoms can be prevailed than others. It's very, very individual from one woman to another. But to educate them, it's really important to know what they can expect, what is possible for them, so they can have a choice, what speaks for them mostly to take this path of treatment. So it's not the end of the world, right? It's just period of the women's life. It's a chapter, and we are here to give this hope and direction how they can manage this in natural way. What are the myth or expectation that women have of menopause are incorrect or misleading? What do you think about the myth or expectation? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You keep coming in and out, but
Oh, okay. I'm
hear
sorry
you.
about that. What are the myth expectation about the menopause?
The media expectations, did you say?
Yes.
Oh, this is a really good question. So I think I need to differentiate between what has been going on, let's say, in the last 40, 50 years, and what has been going on in the last 3 years. Because things have changed. But let's talk about the stereotypes, the way that women have been portrayed at this stage of life. And very typically and very traditionally, there was a very negative, demeaning, derogatory representation of women in menopause. I will say that it was very stereotypically what a menopausal woman looks like. Hot flashes, raging, crazy, erratic, having to strip her clothes off. Women were only depicted in that very negative way, old, shriveled, like not really relevant anymore. They were not really depicted very well in television or in movies. If they were depicted at all, there were no news items or in magazines. There was nothing catered towards that menopausal woman. The word perimenopause didn't exist in media representation. It was all about menopause, what a menopause woman looks like. And it was always an older woman with gray hair. And I think that really was the way, and only bad. It was only a bad experience, something that, to be talked about quietly, or something not to be talked about at all. And as soon as you entered menopause, that was it, you became irrelevant. In the last few years, things have changed, especially in the UK. And as I said, the UK actually really is the pioneer in leading the menopause conversation and changing the menopause dialogue and narrative. Now, I do have a couple of issues with what is going on in the UK. So there are things that I don't necessarily agree with what is happening in the changing conversation in the United Kingdom. However, they are talking about it and they are making this language accessible, and they are giving women information and knowledge, and they are educating doctors. So things have changed. It's changing a bit in North America, but not as much. In Australia, there is also more conversation. In Europe, it's a bit different because women and older women in Europe were always a little bit more regarded as sort of more classy or more valued in certain areas, more confident. The older woman in the European cultural language is slightly different to in America, North America, England, and Australia. Many other countries really don't have a conversation at all yet. So in plenty of countries, like for example, in South Africa, I know there is very little conversation happening in the menopause world. But let's talk about what's going on in the United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, things are absolutely changing. There is much more conversation, newspaper articles, daytime shows, information available for doctors. There is a lot going on. And also now in sort of Hollywood or in pop culture or in, social media, there is a bit more openness and conversation and a bit more women representation. It's not anywhere near what it needs to be, but there is at least more awareness. But I will tell you that filtering down to the woman on the street, to the woman who is actually going through this stage of life, she still doesn't know what to do. She still doesn't know who to go to, how to navigate her symptoms, the support and the help. There is still plenty of work to be done.
Right. And I hope that it can be spread all around the world, this conversation, that's why you're doing this conversation today and using this podcast to give a voice a little bit more. So I'm excited for that. So what is the one thing that you see coming up again and again for the women you work with?
Yeah. So many of the women that I work with come to me either because they have heard me speaking in workshops, or they've attended my summit, or they listen to podcasts, and they all of a sudden start thinking, maybe I'm at that stage, what Jacqueline is saying, what I'm reading about, the things that she's talking about. Yes, that is actually what I'm going through, and they didn't realize they were in perimenopause. But many women come to me actually after they have gone to their doctor. So they're doing the right thing. They know that something is happening. They don't feel right in their bodies. They want to figure out what's going on, and they do the right thing. They go to their doctor, and usually they're in their mid-40s, anywhere from 42 to 47. And they may be experiencing brain fog, or low energy, or insomnia, or tiredness, or, weight gain, or thinning hair, or achy joints, all the things that we know about. And they go to the doctor, and the doctor, maybe will do some blood work, maybe will run some tests, heart palpitations. Heart palpitations is an excellent example. Does blood tests and, checks them out, and everything is fine. And the doctor turns around to them and says, your tests are all fine. Everything's normal. Everything's fine. Come back to me in 6 months' time. Or if you're not sleeping, take this sleeping tablet. Or if you've got joint pain, take this tablet to help with the joint pain. The doctor will give them either medication for their treatment, or will say, come back in 6 months' time. And the women don't feel right. They feel out of balance. They're irritable. They're moody. Or what often happens is the doctor will prescribe an antidepressant. And then the women are like really, really in shock. The doctor has never mentioned perimenopause. The doctor hasn't referred or related their experience to any part of a menopause journey. And they come to me because they don't understand. They don't feel right. They haven't got the answers they want from the doctor, and they realize that something else must be going on. And that is the biggest thing that I have really seen. These women who are doing the right thing, often going to the doctor, not getting the answers that they need or want, or the doctor saying everything looks normal, or come back in 6 months, and they don't feel normal. They don't feel right. And they're looking for answers. They're looking for help. They're looking for the support.
Right. I know you create the Menopause Summit in the spring, this past, or coming up spring, or
no,
this
it
past
was.
spring?
It was in the spring. Yes, it was April. It was June time. Yes.
Oh, right. So can you tell me a little bit what was the experience and what response you got?
Yes. So I created the online Menopause Summit, which was a 5-day online summit. And I brought together 15 experts from around the world, looking at women's health, aging, menopause journey, from a functional medicine perspective, but also from a very holistic perspective. So really helping women, giving women language and information to really help them identify what they were going through, and then very practical ways to help them navigate this stage of life. I know that for many women, they are, either not given any information, or given information that really doesn't relate to them. As you said, every single woman's menopause journey is personalized and unique to her. And no two women will experience things the same way. But there are certain things that every woman can be doing. And there is an understanding that every woman can have. And I really brought a functional medicine doctor. I brought a doctor who deals in bioidentical HRT treatment. I brought some women who were really talking more about the concept, the more spiritual or journey approach to what menopause really is. Because I think for so many women, they have in their language, menopause is bad. It's a negative thing. It's, you know, I'm going to feel awful. I'm going to feel terrible. It's something I have to suffer through. And we need to change this perspective. The perspective and the mindset of what we're experiencing also impacts our journey. And then also women to really help with how do we treat symptoms? How do we actually deal and navigate these symptoms that we're experiencing?
Right. And how you help personally, how you work with the women who come to you?
Yes. So I work from a hormonal health perspective. I am looking at, we know that during our perimenopause and menopause years into postmenopause, our hormones are fluctuating. And many of the symptoms that women experience is a result of this dramatic hormonal fluctuation. And how we arrive at perimenopause, our hormonal state, our hormonal health as we come up to perimenopause will also impact how we navigate perimenopause, and our ability to create hormonal balance during our menopause years will impact how we experience postmenopause. I want to try and identify the triggers, your personal triggers for hormonal imbalance, and then work to create long-term hormonal balance and hormonal health through the different strategies from a holistic perspective. And then through creating this hormonal health and hormonal balance, we can manage and treat and maybe even prevent some of the symptoms, but also set you up for really good long-term health and well-being through this really strong hormonal health, resilience, and balance. So I'm looking at the triggers for hormonal imbalance, and then how do I support you to create hormonal health and balance?
And what is the steps, according to you, to take to achieve this balance?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
What is the steps that you suggest that they take to achieve this balance?
Yes. So I look at 5 key areas of hormonal imbalance. I think hormonal imbalance has 5 key triggers or 5 key sources for hormonal imbalance: stress, nutrition, sleep, movement, and self-care. Stress is one of the biggest triggers for hormonal imbalance, and there are different types of stress. It's not just, oh my gosh, I feel overwhelmed, oh my goodness, I'm in burnout. That's one type of stress, but there are 4 different types of stress, and stress is a major trigger for hormonal imbalance. Nutrition, what you eat, when you eat, how you eat, and that includes a lot of different things. Not only remove, what can we add to our diet? What can we add to support and nourish us? So nutrition, sleep. We should not underestimate how critical sleep is for hormonal imbalance and for creating hormonal balance and brain function, brain health, decision-making, all those different types of things. And that's especially important for a perimenopausal woman who may be having cognitive changes, low motivation, short-term memory loss, brain fog, all those types of things. And brain function for brain-gut health and the brain-gut relationship. So sleep is really, really important. Also for regulating things like cortisol, melatonin, which is another also important. Number 4 was movement. And I don't say exercise, I say movement, because in perimenopause and midlife from your 40s onwards, it's not just about exercise, it's about how you move your body and balancing flexibility, strength, balance, grounded and supported work, strength training, all these different things come into play. So it's not just about going to the gym every day and doing weight training. It's about how do we actually move in our body? How do we support the movement in our body? Also about achy joints and stiff joints and all those types of things. Osteoporosis, loss of muscle mass, all of this comes into the movement element, which all is important for managing and treating directly symptoms, but also creating hormonal balance, because exercise boosts the feel-good hormones. We're not just looking at balancing insulin, cortisol, and the reproductive hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, but we also really want to boost those feel-good hormones. And that is done also through movement. And the last one is self-care, which includes a lot of different things. It includes work-life balance, spending time with friends, journaling, being out in nature, time for yourself. All those things, again, partly help to balance the stress hormones. But again, we're looking at boosting the feel-good hormones, the serotonin, endorphins, oxytocin, all those good hormones that help to balance out and to trigger calming feelings in the body. So those are the 5 areas that I look at. And for each woman, it will be different. We will do different things. And the recommendations I make and the strategies that I want each woman to implement will really depend on her blood work, the symptoms, and her lifestyle. What areas do we need to focus on for her based on her specific situation?
What do you wish every woman would know about menopause?
Oh, this is a great question. I think it's really important that every woman knows that menopause is not the beginning of the end. And to really banish that language, because the average age for menopause is 51. That's the average age. Some women go through menopause early in their 40s, and there are many women who go through menopause in their mid to late 50s. I've been approached by some women who are still having regular periods up until 55 years old, 57 years old. I have a client at the moment who is 57, and she's only just stopped her regular period cycle. So menopause is not the beginning of the end, because today women are living much, much longer. And you can have 30 years at least in postmenopause. The question is, what are those 30 years going to look like? And in our traditional Western language, those 30 years were very irrelevant, either because women died much, much younger, or because women didn't have as many socioeconomic opportunities. Their lives were less enriched and less full. We didn't have as good a healthcare system to support us as we aged. And so, you know, women, even if they did live longer, the quality of life and their ability to do things was much, much reduced. Today, that really doesn't exist. A woman who is 70 or 80 can very easily be doing exciting, valuable things in her life, going on adventures, you know, taking up new hobbies. Nothing is impossible for a woman in her 70s or 80s anymore. And I want women to know that menopause is just the beginning of the next stage of your life. And that mindset shift of knowing that this is just the next stage of your life, and let's think about how we want to live that post-menopause time, can change how you approach menopause. Rather than it being this heavy, depressing, you know, challenging time of life, let's change that. Let's find the ways that we can navigate this stage differently. And I don't want to belittle women who do suffer with menopause symptoms. Menopause symptoms are real, but let's figure out and let's change that language slightly so that we can then prepare ourselves, not just for this slow decline, but for an amazing 30 plus years in postmenopause.
Beautiful message. I resonate completely with this message. And I think this is part of my mission to change this perception and perspective of negativity around the menopause and switch it into actually the best gift that they can have in their life. How, right. Jacqueline, how the people can reach out to you and work with you?
Yes. So I am at the Yoga Room 120 all over social media. I have my website, theyogaroom120.com, where you can get all the information about how I support women. I'm on Facebook, a little bit on Instagram. I'm not as visible on Instagram as I am on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Those are my two platforms, but you can find me on Instagram, the Yoga Room 120 on all those places. And I'd love to, to work with any of your audience who are really trying to figure out how they can navigate their symptoms and really do that through the hormonal balance piece of their health and wellness journey.
Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, listeners, to listen our episode. And I encourage you to reach out and connect with Jacqueline or with me, with some of other experts in this show that can help you with your challenges. Thank you again, and keep listening and share this information. The world needs more of that.